Welcome, everyone. I want to say welcome to each one of you to this AMA. This is almost the last AMA of our 4th anniversary. All of you, you are welcome. Here we have our guests. And today we're going to talk about investments. My name is Miguel Cardenas, and I'm the lead of investment at XT Labs. Now, this is an amazing opportunity for all of us to be here today and to present and to understand more about investments. So here we have different people. We have Benjamin, Tony, Omer, Sally, and Alex. And all of them represent amazing companies in where we're going to learn a lot today. Now, I have to tell you that it will be great that you stay on this stream, not only at the beginning, but also I have a special secret question they don't know about. And I will ask it at some point on the stream and will be curious to know their answer. They don't know about it. They are not prepared for it, but it will be fun to hear about them. Now, let's start with the first thing. First, let's let each of them to know who they are, what are they doing, how do they arrive to crypto, and to know a little bit more about their company. So, first of all, welcome everyone. You can say hello here.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
Awesome. So let's start with Benjamin. Can you please introduce yourself?
Of course. Thanks, Miguel, for having me. Very happy to be here. Hi, everyone. So my name is Benjamin. I manage partnerships and startups partnerships within Consensys. I'm sure you're familiar with Consensys. We are a software company building MetaMask, Infura, Truffle, all those tools that you probably know, building the Web3 infrastructure. Recently, we have launched a startup program, and that's why we're partnering with venture capital firms and startups. It's targeted for Web3 early stage companies, hence the reason I am here today. Prior to that, I was a Web2 entrepreneur, and I worked for Google for 3 years. To answer your question about when I entered the crypto world, I joined 5 years ago, I would say, during the 2017 bull market. Before that, a little bit. Yeah, very excited about this space, very excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Benjamin. Now, let's go with Tony.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miguel. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, to you all. My name is Tony Dhanjal. I head up tax at a company called Koinly. And Koinly is first and foremost, a crypto portfolio tracker. It allows you to track your aggregated portfolio and which direction, whether up or down, it's heading in. And then also doubles up, most importantly, as a crypto tax calculator, SaaS piece of software to enable investors, traders alike to calculate their taxes and report to their local tax agencies. Very, very excited to be in the blockchain and crypto space. I mean, I am a relatively new entrant in here. I mean, it's only been about 12 to 18 months for myself, but you know, what a curve and what a journey it's been so far. I'm really, really excited about this particular industry, this particular space and technology, and long may it continue. So thank you very much. Happy to be here and happy to participate.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tony. Amazing to know about Koinly. Now let's go with Alex.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Lin. I am the head of research and an investor at Shima Capital, an early stage crypto native VC. I joined Shima Capital about 9 months ago, and before, or I guess while I was at Shima, or when I started at Shima, I was completing my my degree, my graduate school degree from Cornell, focused on technical computer engineering, and my MBA. And then before that, I was a Web2 entrepreneur like Benjamin. So I started my own digital health company called Tether Health, and was an engineer and product manager at several other Web2 startups that were acquired across ad tech and enterprise SaaS. And then I did a year in consulting right out of undergrad, where I studied applied math, computer science, and economics. I've been in crypto since about 2012, personally. I bought
Wow.
RuneScape accounts and sold them to people around the world. And I had some buyers who bought my accounts using Bitcoin. And then that's how I kind of got into the foray of things. So I guess a bit more about Shima. So Shima Capital, we are early stage, as I mentioned, so pre-seed seed investments. We are chain agnostic, so investing across all different networks, vertical agnostic, looking at DeFi, gaming, NFTs, metaverse, infrastructure, consumer, so on and so forth. And also stack agnostic, right? So everything from the application layer protocols all the way down to the network layer and everything in between.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex. Great to know. Now let's go, please, with Sally.
Thank you, Miguel. Happy to be here. So hi, everyone. I'm Sally Wayne from 7 O'Clock Capital. I'm currently an investor and responsible for all of the overseas outreaches and relations. I joined crypto probably I guess, youngest in crypto years. I joined early this year, but I knew about it, was dabbling it in 2017, I guess, where most people started. And so before that, I was working in media, working with international education. And so a little bit intro about 7 O'Clock Capital. We're funded at the end of 2020. We're registered in Singapore, but our headquarters is here in Beijing. We're quite young, but that makes us very agile and active. We've been heavily involved in the space so far with close to 100 projects we've been involved with. And we really pride ourselves in giving support and helping projects that we work with to grow and to succeed. Yeah, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Now let's go, please, with Omer.
Thanks, Miguel. And first of all, congratulations to XD.com for their anniversary. We work with them a lot and really see the innovation that they've been doing in the market. My name is Omer Ozden. I'm the chairman of Rocktree Capital. We are an early stage fund and merchant bank. We started out in 2009 in TradFi and did a lot of investments in China, particularly in mobile e-commerce. We founded China's version of WeWork, Yoke Gongchang. And then we moved into crypto in 2016. And we're crypto native because actually it's the most progressive and fastest moving technology in the world. And so what we do is crypto projects, early stage, pre-seed, seed, some strategic. We take two types of investments. We sometimes take passive investments, but actually the most successful investments for Rocktree are typically where we're active in the deal. So that's why we're a fund and a merchant bank. We become a part of the team. We help accelerate the project's growth. And that way we produce a higher multiple on our valuations. And we are really bullish on infrastructure, DeFi, a little bit of GameFi, chain agnostic.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Omer. It's all about growing and helping, and at the same time, grow economically. That's awesome. Now, all of you, in one way or another, are related to investment, and often you will see projects probably on a daily basis, weekly basis, or maybe even hourly basis. So with so many projects around in where you need to check, know about them, see what they're doing, how do you guys do in order to filter what we call the good ones? In order to, how do you realize, okay, this project is good, we should get into it, we should connect, we should begin? I want to know for each of you a little bit about this version. For the next questions, we can jump with one or two of you, but for this one, I would like to hear each one's perspective. Let's start on the same, let's change the order. Let's go first with Omer.
Sure. We have a couple of philosophies. One is that we don't like to skate to where the puck is. We like to skate to where the puck is going. Puck in Chinese means bing chou yao, and we like to skate to where the bing chou yao is going. So that's something really important for us. Secondly, something that's also important is the team. So our partner fund in Beijing is Zhenge Jijin, and they taught us how to really focus on team members. So we get really close and personal with the team. We spend a lot of time on due diligence, and we actually actively meet with the team and work with the team on on a regular basis. And so we have a saying, which is, you know, if it's a good team and things go bad, you can always pivot, you can always work it out. But if it's a bad team and things go bad, then things, you know, the situation of the project goes bad. But if things get good, we've seen in crypto, actually things can get really worse if it's a bad team, because people start to get greedy and so forth. So it's really important for us to focus on the team. There's a lot of good technology out there, but in the end, technology is to a certain extent centralized. It depends on the quality and character of the team members. So we've been really good at assessing that.
Awesome. So in simple words, it's about the team. This is the summary that I get from you. Thank you very much. Now let's go, please, with Sally.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a couple things that we look for. And first and foremost is problem solving. So does the project actually solve real problems? Because there's essentially a difference between actual problems and not so actual problems, which is why, you know, in the bear market, the sentiment now is back to building and less focusing on dApps, because unless we fix the underlying issues with infrastructure, with speed, unless we're able to onboard more users onto Web3, building, I guess you can call it fluff, adding just a bunch of fluff on something that's not solid wouldn't work. So when you look at projects or you look at protocols, right, if they're actually solving a pain point that is real, then that means they could have a chance to actually go far instead of just copy and paste someone else's protocols, and then that doesn't really add any value. And another thing that Omer mentioned is the team, right? What are the visions? How are they allocating their time and their energy? And also, I think the bear market as actually a good test for builders, because it takes away the buzz and the fantasy around crypto, and it forces them to think long-term, forces them to actually hunker down and work out and focus on what's important. So I think, you know, a lot of the good protocols out there, a lot of great projects are actually born during the bear market. So there is definitely a lot of opportunities, even in the situation we are here at now. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sally. And I agree with you. I mean, this is the moment in where you can see what teams are building, what they are doing, and actually makes it easier to filter about the noise. It's like the noise filters out itself on the bear market so that you can only see the clear teams doing things. While in a bull market, there's so much noise around that simply get lost. Thank you. Now let's go with Alex.
Yeah, so I think that here at Shima, we're a very research-driven and founder-driven investment firm. And so I think that, you know, I'll just highlight those two core tenets for us. The first, being research-driven, right, can mean a lot of different things. I think research has found its way to be a very integral part of the investment process, particularly in Web3 blockchain crypto investments. And why is that, right? I think it's because the industry itself and the technology itself is so young. I don't like to say early, because I think early derives a time period in which might be a bit wrong. And so, but we're definitely early, right? In the sense that, definitely young in the sense that there's a lot of maturity that needs to happen. And so with that maturity requires a very scientific as well as artistic kind of approach, hybrid approach to assessing deals. And so on the scientific, right, it's very scientific, methodical method of looking at what's around the corner. So similar to what Omer was saying about skating to where the puck will be, we do a lot of research across tangential technologies, for instance, such as homomorphic encryption. You know, ZKs were a thing before crypto. And so what did that look like? You know, in other industries, what applications actually exist that can be applied to crypto. And so when we're thinking about these, you know, new technologies that are tangential and orthogonal to crypto itself, you can kind of see and envision applications that will drive really quality use cases. And that'll be, you know, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years down the line. But when we look at projects and the teams building these projects that have that utility, we'll see them now, right? And so having that kind of future foresight really comes from a very research-driven approach here at Shima. And then the second piece is, of course, I guess I'll just add to the echo chamber of team, right? The team, particularly the early stage, pre-seed, seed, we see so many projects that are just ideas. And so when you're making a bet on just ideas, it really is a reflection on who's coming up with those ideas and how they're thinking about execution and whether they will actually execute upon those ideas in a very strategic, right, efficient, methodical way. And so the team is by far the most important indicator. And we do that, and the way that we assess, I guess I'll just add here, is that there's a lot of intangibles, right? There's plenty of really great engineers, there's plenty of really great marketers, really great BD people in the world when it comes to the execution, but how do these people get up, right, when they fail? The industry will serve many different obstacles, right, that will be a catalyst for failure. And so what does that look like? Whether it's hacks, right, which is something we'll probably talk about in a bit, whether it's community failure, right, market failure. So all of these different failures it will occur, right, for these founders and for these teams. And so how do they address that? And so there's a lot of qualitative and psychological diligence that we do for teams as well. And so I think that kind of builds into things that we find very important.
Thank you very much, Alex. I like so much your perspective of looking at the future. So it's like you are looking already like for maybe not even the next one, but also the following bull market. That's awesome. Now let's go, please, with Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much going to echo a lot of the sentiments of Sally, Omer, and Alex. I mean, at Koinly, we aren't involved in investments as such, but we can talk about our own project here and what characteristics we believe are making it successful. And, the fortunate part from our perspective is our project was born out of an obligation, and an obligation within a crypto space which had a big void. And that is obviously you've got to file for taxes if you're an investor or a trader. But I think for me, the first point is really the product market fit. We're actually solving a real life problem here, a problem which is born out of an obligation. I'm going to just take an analogy here. When an ordinary trader or an investor has hundreds, maybe thousands of trades which they're transacting and disposing of, how do you then translate all of that? Also taking one step back, connecting all your various different wallets or chains or data feeds, wherever it may be, into a sort of concise and succinct piece of information which you can then put onto a tax return. And that's the problem that we were trying to solve. And invariably what people were doing were using sort of manual workarounds, spreadsheets, and so on. And that could take hours, if not hours, it could almost take days. There was always going to be risks involved in that. I mean, there currently are risks involved in that in terms of mismatch of information, missing data and information, and so on. So really, there was a confidence problem there. So solving that problem with a product has really enabled us to ensure that we're addressing people's pain points. There is a balance to sort of, doing your tax returns and the time and energy and resources you're spending. I mean, for some people, it could be very, very immaterial numbers, and you don't want to be spending weeks doing that. So the time-saving aspect is really important. And what I think as well, from our point of view, is we're kind of building a recession-proof project or business here, because no matter whether we're in a bull or bear market, there is always an obligation for people across the world to do their tax returns. In a bull market, you may experience more gains, which is a great thing commercially, but certainly in a bear market, you may have those losses, which still need to be registered and can be used from a tax perspective. So I think it's a very nice space to be. So, any kind of project that can be recession-proof is always a win-win. And then I think finally, the agility and the adaptability to change, because this is a nascent space that is developing. If you think about the commercial aspect of it, blockchain and crypto, it is way ahead of any tax and regulatory sort of regimes that are desperately trying to catch up and fit a framework into what's happening at the moment. So as a piece of software, as a project, we need to sort of be adaptable to any kind of changes that may sort of be in the pipeline coming up that's announced by various governments or tax agencies, in order so we can execute and implement it in the software.
Thank you very much, Tony, for your input. Now, please, let's go with Benjamin.
Sure. Look, I'll be very short here because I 100% agree with what has been said by my fellow panelists. I think two things. One is the problem, as it has been said already. The bigger the problem, the better. And do you have a product or service that people love and that they're willing to pay for it? That's the number one. Second is the team, as it has been said already. Do you have a team of experienced people willing to go through bad things when they arrive? And I think it's very important for companies to have that. So yeah, that would be my answer. I think it's better to keep it short.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Well, those were great answers. Thank you. I saw in common that everyone talks about team, and of course, this is fundamental. Now, on this year, on 2022, and not only 2022, 2021, 2020, and all the past years, many things has happened. I mean, just for example, we just heard that Celsius had hacked and the database of clients now are exposed. There have been many bankrupts. There have been many hacks. So many things have been happening around. And this might affect the investor's decision. I mean, this will affect your decision. So what do you think a project needs to have? I mean, what do you think? Do you need a stricter control for the projects? What do you think you can handle these risks that are happening? Now, for this question, I will, if you, maybe we choose two person, maybe if you wanna raise the hand and we go this way, is anyone who wanna answer this? Or I go pointing out? Okay, let's go with Tony first, and then Omer.
I'll keep this one very, very brief, and I'm going to talk from a perspective of a finance professional, an accountant and tax person. And you use the example, Miguel, quite rightly, of Celsius Network, and it's been all over the media. In fact, I wrote a couple of articles about them in terms of what I thought actually went wrong with that particular project. And when we talk about stricter risk controls, from an accounting point of view, I do feel that, in my opinion, liquidity management is absolutely key. Asset risk management. Celsius Network had a huge hole on the balance sheet. How was that allowed to even happen? And if we look in TradFi, when you have a regulatory framework, you're held accountable for these kind of things. So maybe the project itself, had legs, but it was running away like a steam engine without sort of any kind of brakes or any kind of control whatsoever. So it's really about not only when the project starts, but also monitoring that particular project. There needs to be an accountable body, and this is where I am an advocate of some sort of regulation or regulatory framework that comes in that stops this level of risk for the unsuspecting investor, who's been persuaded and who's been seduced by all this marketing, and it's very easy to get sucked into that. So there is a responsibility, I think, from all of us to ensure that something like this doesn't occur again.
Thank you. Yes, we all need to work on it. Definitely very important. Let's go with Omer, please.
Okay, so I want to actually refer to the case of Celsius. The DeFi group for Celsius was from a project that we were a shareholder in called KeyFi, and Celsius actually acquired KeyFi. They became the DeFi group for Celsius. And so we got a lot of insight into how what happened there, and we could see under the hood, so to speak. And we see that with a lot of projects. And I think the things that we're privy to would horrify a lot of investors that are less active in the projects, which might just sign a SAFT and send the money and then, okay, I'll see you when the token lists. Because we're active, we see some of the things that happen. And, when things are under good intention and best of, teams are making the best efforts, things can always go wrong. That's fine. But it's where there's malevolence or some sort of intention that's not fiduciary for the investors and for the project and so forth. And that's really important. I go back to what I said earlier. Teams are really critical, and we look for a fiduciary duty that sense amongst the founders to the stakeholders of the network. And that's really critical. And that speaks to their character and so forth. If you look at all the things that you referred to, Miguel, in terms of what happened over the past year or so with Three Arrows, Celsius, Voyager, and so forth. Those issues weren't related to the technology. It was a centralized issue. It was related to the people in every single instance. And so that's really the critical piece. And the way to deal with that is we don't invest in an American style, which is to look at documents, to do due diligence through legal due diligence and so forth. We actually 喝酒吃饭 with the team. We actually get down with the team. we drink alcohol. We eat with them. We feel them out, and that's a very Chinese way of investing. But that's what I find works the best in crypto.
Thank you very much, Omer. Actually, he said.
By the way, we got to have some more Baijiu. I saw you the other week in New York. You were building some Baijiu.
Yeah, let's do it.
Good to see you.
So actually, Omer said 喝酒吃饭, which means have some drinks and eat. So basically, what he's saying is that they meet with the team, they interact with them. It's not only from remote, but they actually involve in and see how they're doing the things. So basically, that's what he said. Now let's go now with something special. We're going with the secret question. So what is the secret question? The secret question is very simple, okay? You have to choose one, only one, okay? And it is, if you have to choose Bitcoin or Ethereum, which one will you choose and why? Very simple. Let's go with Sally.
Honestly, from a personal trading level, I trade mostly in Bitcoin, but if I have to pick one, I probably had to choose Ethereum because it's one of the chains that currently has the stronger ecosystem, and it's been proven, in the past couple of years that its place and its position and its symbolism and what it represents has been really hard to knock down. So for that, a little bit more in the belief side, I guess I go with ETH.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sally. Now comes the second person. Let's see. The second person is going to be Alex.
All right. So, so I think it's important to determine what your objective function is, right? If it's for returns, then I'll give one answer. If it's for utility or a representation of what you desire or how you want to play a role in the ecosystem, it's a different answer, right? I'll answer the second.
Choose one. Choose one.
If I do one,
don't trade. Choose one. Choose one.
Yeah. So the second. So I would go with Ethereum. I think it means, in terms of an investment and what it means to the rest of the ecosystem as a symbol and token, right? For backing a community, right, that has persisted for so long and is kind of pioneering and pushing the envelope of innovation, right, across the entire market is super important to be behind and support. So so for me it would be Ethereum from that perspective.
Awesome. Okay, I mean, now it's not random. I just want that everybody talks. So now let's go with Benjamin, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think you already know my answer. I work for Consensys, so if I enter Bitcoin, I think I don't show my face again at work. But even though it's my personal opinion, I think Ethereum is the world computer. The use cases are enormous, even more so with the merge that has happened a few weeks ago. So I see definitely Ethereum. Bitcoin is for me a store of value, but the use cases are very limited these days. So 100% Ethereum.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your input. It's awesome. Actually, to be honest, I agree with you. At least with the three that spoke. Now, I don't want to make this too long. Let's go with the next question. Now, we saw that recently there was token 2049 in Singapore. And it was a great event. I mean, definitely, but everybody talks about it. It was well organized. It seems that Singapore is really becoming somehow the crypto hub in Asia. But their government seems that it's not openly, like Dubai, openly endorsing crypto. I mean, they are having still not much clarity about it. So what aspects do you think will be decisive for the government regulation? Is it suitable to invest in Singapore? Now, let's go with raising the hand to those that want to speak, please. Okay, now let's go with Benjamin.
Sure. So I don't think I will speak specifically for Singapore because I'm not sure I know the space in Singapore very well. But I don't know if you've seen, but the European Council today approved a crypto regulation called MiCA that will be voted for approval at the European Parliament in 1 week. And so I think it's going to create like a massive wave of regulation, probably in other regions of the world. And I definitely think if this is approved, it's going to be implemented within 2024. It's going to bring clarity for many players in the ecosystem, stable coins, money laundering policies, and so on and so forth. There is nothing about DeFi and NFTs in this text, but it's definitely coming. And so I think Singapore is definitely now a safe haven for crypto projects, and they will follow along and bring clarity to along with the European policies. And I think the US is also building a framework that will be very close to what the European is offering. So I don't think it's a worry for now to be a crypto entrepreneur in Singapore.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Now, please let's go with Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. And I just want to sort of echo more of what Benjamin's saying and actually refer to MiCA. MiCA is now seemingly going to become the standard, the trailblazing standard in regulation, where other jurisdictions can perhaps look over their shoulder and, and follow over time. But I think I can't, again, speak specifically for Singapore, but what I can speak for is there's been enough sort of events and noise in 2022, which is perhaps somewhat to a degree damaged some of the reputation of blockchain and crypto, especially with like a little bit of a domino effect, one thing after another. Celsius, Hodl Naught, Three Arrows Capital, it just seems to be happening. In my view, I think there's still more to come. In the latter parts of 2022, early 2023. So really, it's a case of where we need a regulatory framework. I'm not saying rushed, but something that needs to come in to sort of foster that trust and reinstate a bit of integrity. And that, I think, is really important. So if you're in a jurisdiction like Singapore, I'm not suggesting it's not safe or it's going to be incredible, but I think the fact of the matter is now, with a lot of the sort of media narrative out there suggesting that crypto is becoming a criminal's paradise with the scams and hacks and the vulnerabilities of it, it will start to play into people's psyche. So the quicker we can get into a sort of regulatory framework, the better. And MiCA is kind of addressing that really, really well, I think, certainly from the text that I've read. With regards to crypto-related services and also custody providers. And I think that's where the key is, where I'm giving my sort of coin and tokens to a custody provider, then I need to know it's going to be, reasonably safe. And, those providers need to be governed and need to be regulated around capital adequacy, around market manipulation, around insider dealing, and so on. Again, to sort of weed out those bad actors that unfortunately, as human nature, will exist without any kind of regulatory framework.
Thank you very much, Tony. Now, I want to know, the investments have been changing, the projects have been changing, and the relations between projects and investor have been changing. To me, it was curious what Omer said before about hold your fan. So actually, I want to hear from him a little bit, how has been changing this? The investment relation. How do you see from the past, now, and the future?
Yeah, I think that in the past, you just needed to have a PowerPoint presentation and get your token listed, and there was going to be some success. But like, because the market is so crowded with very good projects, it's going to be less so. And I think 5 years ago, you could take more of a gambling attitude, put your chips on the table and see what comes to fruition. But, you know, for us, we're very, very tailored and very precise about the projects, very bespoke. So it's really important to get it right. Not all projects are going to be successful. And particularly in a bear market, you need to make sure that they're generational. They're thinking, you know, 5 to 10 years ahead of time, you know, for hopefully bull markets to come back again. So in terms of investment, now how things have changed, expecting more corporate governance from projects, perhaps even taking a board seat, being closer with the team and monitoring it, working with investors who can supervise the projects. I think that's really important. We not only look at the project itself, but make sure that there's other good investors who can kind of be like adults in the room to work together to give guidance. And if things go astray, we can help each other to direct the project in the right, you know, in the right direction for both the protocol, but also the stakeholders as well. I think that's really important.
Thank you very much. Will be Sally or Alex, which of you would like to take the question?
Yeah, sure. I can add to that. I think the essence of investment, as we understand here, it's the identification and management of business risks, right? So in traditional, when it's like traditional startups and companies, you know, founder basically has an idea, needs to write a business plan, has to get a team together, has to register for a company, start building, and then the process easily could take 6 to 12 months for a product to get on the market and to get feedback from its users. However, when you're looking at a Web3 startup, you know, you have an idea. Basically, all you need is a computer, right? You need a computer, you get coding, and if your idea is really good, there's tons of developers that would, you know, that are interested, and they will swarm over and, you know, want to develop this this idea with you. And, you know, as you test out everything, you know, you're throwing out ideas on the community as you build a project, so you're getting feedback right away. So in that sense, you know, if your protocol doesn't work or it's seriously flawed, your system will be exploited and hacked pretty soon, and your project will very much fall apart. So as an investor, you must have a clear understanding of what you're investing in, basically, and you have to be a lot more involved. So for us, we feel like somehow, you know, other than a investor, we're sometimes more doing, you know, a bit of incubation and acceleration in that sense, that, as Omer said, we have to now be a lot more hands-on and have to be there with the team, with the founders, clarifying their visions, what they want to do, how they plan to execute it, how they plan to reach out to their community. So definitely in that sense, there's no more kind of just here's the money and we'll come back to you later. That's definitely not
do your stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to work here. And I know in this space there's a ton of hot money, people who've made a lot just from trading, and they're looking into investing. But, you know, for projects, that's not really smart money in a way, because you know, if you're really good and you're really building something game changing, you know, monetary gains won't be a problem for you. It's how you execute. So as an investor, right now, definitely have to be 100% hands-on.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, guys, now it comes my favorite question of tonight. It's the last question, just before ending, and it's the coolest one. And this goes especially for those that have been long time in crypto, that have experienced many bull and bear markets, that have seen their money go up and down, and it's really important. And the question is, are we at the bottom of the bear market? In which kind of projects should we invest in order to get exponential returns? Okay, let's go for this question. Let's choose, of course, Alex, who has been on crypto since, he said, like, what, year 2000 or something like that? Okay, Alex, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So if I don't know if we're at the bottom, and I don't really look at it from that perspective, right? I think if you look at the financial trends over the years, right, through just from a macro perspective, right, the different recessions, they actually don't really align well, right? There's not a strong correlation with product cycles, and what I mean by that is, some of the best companies um, have kind of persisted across, right? And people say, the best time to build is the bear market, but it's all very correlated, right? There's no causation necessarily. It just so happens that your Netflixes and your Ubers of the world, came out in the mid 2000s or the late 90s, right? Salesforce, for instance, when the dot-com bubble happened. And so I mention all this stuff because we don't, of course, it affects us from a financial perspective in our fiduciary duty to ensure that, we work closely with our portfolio companies and ourselves to ensure that we have runway and dry powder to invest. But when it comes to our thesis, right, it's very much not aligned to the bear necessarily. And I say that because the bear has, or this down cycle has really benefited us as a fund, right? We have haircut valuations. A lot of the noise has been removed, and some of the most interesting projects that we see, coming out of this time period are being built now. And so for us, right, like whether it's the bottom, whether it's the middle, whether we're still at the top, right, it doesn't matter. And so what are we looking at? To your second question. So we have an interesting thesis here at Shima Capital that really focuses a bit on the consumer side. And so obviously everyone's, talking about infrastructure, middleware, and like, hey, we have to build the foundations of this rather nascent industry, right? Because you have to build a very strong foundation in order for everything else to kind of work from an application layer perspective. Well, if you look at certain examples in Web 2, right? So think about Amazon, for instance. So Amazon, from a cloud perspective, they actually had a relational database product called RDS back in 2006. Social really took off. Then big data was a really big kind of thesis and idea through the early 2000s and into the 2010s, right? Big data and all the data that you're getting from social media, et cetera, on the consumer side. And what that did was it drove innovation on the infrastructure side to say, hey, Amazon, RDS isn't going to work. You should build something called Redshift and S3 and the rest of the cloud infrastructure suite that currently exists. And so when you think about it from that perspective, there are a lot of consumer application layer protocols that are being built now in Web3 that have the opportunity to help push the innovation that exists at the infrastructure level. And so if you think about kind of from an investment perspective, what that would look like is it's kind of like your Facebooks of the world, right? Your social-fi, your gamings, your consumer applications that have this catalyst, right? Have this power to innovate at the infrastructure level. That's all happening now. We're seeing a lot of those deals, and we're very excited for those deals. And so I think that that's the area in which, particularly at this point in time, we're really excited about and looking at. So consumer application layer protocols that push innovation and drive innovation in certain projects within the infrastructure side as well.
Thank you very much. Before choosing anyone else, I want to ask, is there any of you who thinks that we are at the bottom of the bear market? If you think so, raise your hand. Oh, so yeah, none of you. Okay, so we can go straight to the second question then, which is, where would you point out? Which kind of area or sector or vertical do you think that your company would like to go through? Let's go now with, let's see, Benjamin.
Well, I don't do investments, so it's a bit difficult to answer this question, but I think it's looping back to the first question you have asked on this panel, which is what's a good quality in an entrepreneur? And the good quality is solving problems. So any company right now that is solving a big problem in the crypto space is a good investment. And there are many problems, actually. So if you look at, you go to defilama.com/raises, then you will see all those companies raising funds. And some of them are solving actually really, really interesting problems, from MEV to wallet data analytics and so on and so forth. So yeah, that would be my answer. There are many, many other problems that need to be solved in the crypto space. and we definitely need to look at them from an entrepreneurial perspective.
Awesome. Is there anyone else that would like to answer the question? Omer, please.
Sure. There's 3 areas that we're pretty bullish on where we think the puck is moving. Obviously, multi-chain, interchain infrastructure. Metcalfe's law talks about the value of the network. And so when we bring all of this together, I think that looking at the isolated Web3 chains and network is going to be a thing of the past. Eventually, it's going to take a lot of time. Not that it's not going to be relevant, but at least at the application layer, people are going to be seeing the entire Web3 network as an interchain ecosystem with the various layer ones underneath that. So that's something we're quite bullish on. DeFi, it's interesting. I think DeFi was the first time we saw real use case in crypto, tangible use case and scaling. And I think we just touched the tip of the iceberg. We're looking for more innovation in DeFi. We look at the ways that finance can be structured digitally, and it's infinite. It's like making music digitally. The music can be infinite versus analog. And so I think that's a big area that we're looking at over the next 2 to 4 years. And then in GameFi, we look at 2.5, not 3.0, not 2.0, but AAA coming into Web3. So 2.5, so that it's not the typical games we've seen in Web3, which are not as fun, but also just empowering AAA games to with being digitally native and decentralized.
Thank you so much, Omer. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this meeting tonight, this AMA tonight. I invite everyone to join our last AMA tomorrow for our last AMA for our 4th anniversary. We are very happy to be here and love to see you. And I hope, guys, that we maybe meet on the future on IRL, in real life. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.